Control and acceptance focus your energy only on what you can control: your actions, choices, and mindset. Let go of what's beyond your control to eliminate mental noise and distractions. The first Stoic truth, control what you can, ignore what you can't, lies at the very heart of Stoicism and serves as a foundation for all personal discipline and mental focus. This principle, taught by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, reminds us that peace and power come from understanding the boundaries of our influence. The world is full of things we can never fully command: other people's opinions, the weather, outcomes, delays, and even the passing of time. Yet there are a few precious things that are entirely ours: our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. Once we learn to separate these two realms, the controllable and the uncontrollable, our focus multiplies, and our energy becomes directed toward what truly matters. Most people waste immense mental effort worrying about things that lie completely outside their reach. They replay arguments in their minds, stress over results they can't change, and feel anger toward circumstances they cannot alter. This is the root of frustration and distraction. When you constantly fight reality, you lose focus, motivation, and peace of mind. But when you apply the Stoic mindset, everything changes. You learn to recognize which things belong to your control and which do not. You realize that your power lies not in the storm, but in your ability to steer the ship calmly through it. Imagine a student preparing for an important exam. They cannot control how difficult the questions will be or what grade they'll receive, but they can control how well they study, how they manage their time, and how they respond under pressure. The Stoic mindset directs all focus to those controllable factors. By doing so, the student not only performs better, but also remains calm and clear-headed. The same logic applies to every area of life, whether it's career, relationships, or personal growth. The more you focus on what's within your control, the sharper your discipline and concentration become. This principle also trains emotional resilience. Once you stop resisting what you can't change, you save emotional energy that was once wasted on anxiety and regret. You begin to live in harmony with reality instead of fighting against it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher, emperor, practiced this daily. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words reveal a timeless truth. Control begins from within. When you master your inner world, the outer world loses its power to disturb you. In today's distracted society, where our attention is constantly pulled by news, notifications, and opinions, the ability to control our focus is more valuable than ever. The Stoic lesson teaches that clarity and peace are not gifts from the world, they are disciplines of the mind. Every time you choose to act instead of complain, to focus instead of worry, you sharpen your mental blade. Over time, this practice builds an unshakable inner fortress of calm and concentration. Control what you can, let go of the rest, and your focus will not just double, it will transform your life. Discipline equals freedom. True freedom comes from mastering your impulses and maintaining self-control. Consistent discipline builds long-term focus and strength. The second Stoic truth, discipline equals freedom, captures one of the deepest paradoxes of human life, that true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, but from mastering yourself. To the Stoics, freedom was not about living without rules. It was about living without slavery to one's impulses, desires, and fears. When you have discipline, you gain control over your own mind and actions. When you lack it, you become a prisoner of temptation, procrastination, and chaos. Discipline is not a punishment, it's the key that unlocks personal power, focus, and peace. In modern times, many people misunderstand freedom. They equate it with indulgence, eating what they crave, saying whatever they feel, doing what feels good in the moment. But Stoicism teaches that this kind of freedom is only an illusion. When you always obey your impulses, you become their servant. The person who cannot control their habits is not free, they are ruled by them. Epictetus once said that no man is free who is not master of himself. Discipline, then, is not about restriction, it's about direction. It gives your energy a purpose and your life a structure. Without discipline, your focus scatters like dust in the wind. Think of an athlete training for competition. They wake up early, follow a strict routine, and push through discomfort daily. From the outside, it might look like sacrifice, but in truth, this discipline gives them power. They are free from laziness, free from excuses, free from the pull of distraction. The same applies to anyone seeking excellence: an artist, a student, or an entrepreneur. When you learn to say no to short-term pleasure, you create space for long-term growth. This is the kind of freedom Stoicism celebrates: the freedom to choose your best self over your easiest self. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled one of the largest empires in history, practiced this principle daily. Despite his immense power, he lived simply, wrote humbly, and trained his mind to remain steady in chaos. He understood that external power means nothing without internal control. His discipline was his strength. It allowed him to lead with clarity, not emotion. Similarly, discipline in our own lives helps us remain focused and consistent even when motivation fades. Motivation is fleeting, discipline endures. It keeps you steady when your feelings fluctuate and your mind wants to quit. Discipline also strengthens focus because it builds habits that remove the need for constant decision-making. When your actions follow a routine aligned with your goals, you no longer waste energy on wondering what to do next. You just do it. Over time, this consistency creates momentum, and momentum builds mastery. The Stoics believed that freedom is achieved not through ease, but through effort. When you train your mind and body to serve your higher values instead of your passing emotions, you become unshakable. So, when you hear discipline equals freedom, understand it as a call to mastery, not limitation. Every time you wake up early, resist distraction, or choose responsibility over comfort, you expand your freedom. Discipline is not the enemy of joy, it's the foundation of lasting focus, purpose, and peace. Turn obstacles into opportunities. Every challenge is a chance to grow stronger. Instead of resisting difficulties, use them as stepping stones toward progress. The third Stoic truth, the obstacle is the way, reveals one of the most powerful and transformative ideas in philosophy. It teaches that the challenges we face are not interruptions to our path, they are the path itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every obstacle carries within it an opportunity for growth, wisdom, and strength. The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to avoid or curse, but something to use. Instead of seeing difficulties as walls, they saw them as training grounds for virtue and resilience. In life, obstacles are inevitable. There will always be setbacks, disappointments, and failures. Most people see these moments as signs that they should stop or give up. But the Stoic mindset flips this thinking entirely. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "How can I use this to become stronger?" Every challenge becomes a teacher. Pain builds endurance. Failure builds wisdom. Resistance builds focus. This mindset transforms frustration into progress and hardship into purpose. Take the story of Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born a slave and lived most of his life in hardship. Despite his suffering, he became one of the greatest teachers of inner freedom. His life embodied this principle. He turned his lack of control over external circumstances into mastery over his inner world. That's what the obstacle is the way truly means. The external world will test you, but it cannot defeat you if you use it to refine your character. This idea is also deeply practical. When we encounter a problem, we often react emotionally with anger, fear, or self-pity. These reactions blur our focus and drain our energy. The Stoic approach, however, is calm and analytical. Instead of wasting time on frustration, the Stoic immediately asks, "What can I do right now? What's within my control?" That shift in thinking not only restores focus, but also leads to creative problem solving. By viewing every difficulty as a stepping stone, we move forward instead of being paralyzed by resistance. Modern life is full of obstacles: failed goals, rejection, stress, financial struggles, and emotional pain. But each of these, if approached with Stoic wisdom, becomes a tool for personal transformation. A failure teaches humility. A delay teaches patience. A betrayal teaches self-reliance. The Stoics believed that life doesn't test you to break you, it tests you to shape you. Every time you confront an obstacle with courage and reason, you strengthen your mental muscle. Ultimately, the obstacle is the way, is about shifting perception. It's not the event that determines your outcome, but how you interpret it. The same fire that melts butter hardens steel, and you get to choose which you become. When you start seeing obstacles not as enemies but as allies, your focus deepens, your discipline grows, and your life takes on a new kind of power. The obstacle doesn't block your path, it builds it. Live in the present moment, stay grounded in the now. Worrying about the past or future weakens focus, concentration thrives in the present. The fourth Stoic truth, you suffer more in imagination than in reality, comes from the Roman philosopher Seneca, and it captures one of the most profound psychological insights ever expressed. Human beings are unique in their ability to think ahead, to imagine possibilities, and to anticipate danger. While this ability can help us prepare for life's challenges, it can also become our greatest source of suffering. Most of the pain we experience does not come from what is happening to us, but from what we think might happen. Our imagination, when left unchecked, exaggerates fears, multiplies worries, and creates problems that don't exist outside our minds. Seneca observed that people often live through hardships long before they actually occur. They experience anxiety over events that might never happen, turning small concerns into large emotional storms. The Stoics believed that such suffering is unnecessary and entirely self-created. They taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our opinions and judgments about them. If we can learn to question our thoughts instead of being ruled by them, we can free ourselves from imaginary suffering. This lesson is crucial in developing focus and discipline, because a mind consumed by fear and worry can never stay present or productive. Imagine someone preparing for a job interview. They begin worrying days in advance. What if I forget my answers? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? These thoughts create stress, sleeplessness, and self-doubt. Yet, none of these fears are real. They exist only in the imagination. The Stoic approach would be to replace fear with preparation. Focus on what is within your control, studying, practicing, and showing up with confidence, and let go of the rest. Once the mind stops rehearsing disaster, energy and clarity return. This principle also teaches emotional control. When we understand that most fears are imagined, we become less reactive. Instead of being carried away by anxious thoughts, we can pause, observe them, and respond rationally. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to see things as they truly are, not as imagination paints them. This deliberate effort to stay grounded in reality reduces stress and increases focus. A disciplined mind doesn't run wild with assumptions, it deals with facts. Modern life constantly triggers our imagination. News headlines, social media, and comparisons with others often create an illusion that disaster or inadequacy is around every corner. The Stoic, however, practices stillness. They learn to ask, is this really happening now, or am I suffering in anticipation? This simple question brings awareness back to the present, where peace resides. By mastering this Stoic truth, you reclaim mental space that worry once occupied. You realize that your fears lose power the moment you confront them with reason. In time, you stop suffering twice, once in your imagination and once in reality, and begin to live with clarity, courage, and calm. When your mind stops imagining pain, your focus sharpens, and your life becomes lighter and freer. Consistency over perfection, small, steady actions every day build discipline and results. Focus grows not from bursts of motivation, but from a committed routine. The fifth Stoic truth, focus on virtue, not validation, strikes at the very core of what it means to live with purpose and integrity. In today's world, people often measure their worth through external approval, how many likes they get, how much praise they receive, or how others perceive their success. But to the Stoics, such validation is a fragile and fleeting pursuit. They believe that the only true good is virtue, the quality of your character and the choices you make when no one is watching. Virtue, in Stoic philosophy, means living in harmony with reason, justice, courage, and self-discipline. It is the foundation of real happiness and the key to lasting focus and discipline. When your actions are guided by virtue, you are no longer dependent on external rewards or opinions. You act not to impress, but to improve. You work not for applause, but for excellence. This mindset frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval, which drains both energy and focus. The Stoics understood that validation from others is outside your control, and therefore not worth chasing. The moment your happiness depends on the opinions of others, you hand over your peace of mind to something you can never control. True focus comes when your attention is directed inward on your values, your growth, and your effort. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, constantly reminded himself to stay humble and virtuous despite his status as emperor. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." His wisdom reveals that virtue isn't about talking, pretending, or seeking attention. It's about living by principle. Even surrounded by power and praise, he chose to ground himself in humility and moral clarity. This is the Stoic path to stay centered within yourself, unshaken by either criticism or flattery. When you focus on virtue instead of validation, discipline becomes easier. You stop being driven by temporary motivation or social pressure and start being guided by internal standards. A person who acts out of virtue doesn't need someone to tell them what's right. They already know. This kind of internal compass keeps you consistent, even when no one is watching. It also protects your mind from the emotional ups and downs that come from trying to please everyone. In practical terms, this truth means redirecting your focus from results to effort, from recognition to integrity. Do your best work because it reflects your character, not because you expect a reward. Speak the truth because it's right, not because it will make you popular. Live with honesty, fairness, and self-control, and you'll find that validation naturally follows not from others, but from your own conscience. The Stoics teach that virtue is the only thing that truly belongs to us. Everything else, wealth, status, approval, is temporary and unstable, but virtue is permanent. It grows stronger with every choice. When you focus on virtue, you build a kind of inner strength that no one can take away. Your focus deepens, your discipline solidifies, and your life aligns with something far greater than public opinion. It aligns with wisdom itself.